there's something about your love. Yeah, there's something about your love.
Oh my goodness. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Whiskey Geeks. My name is Tim.
And my name is Alex. And we're just two brothers combining our love of whiskey and comics. It's no big deal. But we're trying to bring you the perfect pairing.
And I think today we did it.
It's let's stop it. We'll shut her down. This is a great one.
I know it's early in our existence doing this, but honestly, I think we probably could shut it down after this one because I think we've done it.
Well, there was a reason why we paired these two together and why we wanted to do them early. Like we wanted to record this one and do this article and like get this out there early because it's a seminal piece of work in the comic book realm.
Hint. I mean, you already know what it is. It's in the title. So
yeah, I was going to say it's in the title. So yeah, but they've clicked it. So,
but we are drinking this absolutely gorgeous, wonderful, fantastic whiskey from the wee tune of Campbeltown, Glen Scotia, Victoriana, and we read the Infinity Gauntlet.
I mean, it's a good night.
This is going to be a fun time. This
talk about that
whiskey.
One. Because I was going to say, this has got to be one of your favorites. You talk about this all the time.
Yes, I do.
I mean, with good reason.
With very good reason. I'm going to put the bottle down. Otherwise, I'm just going to be hugging it the whole time. You can start smelling and doing all your stuff. I'm just going to wax poetic about Glen Scotia for a while.
I don't have a bottle of this in my house. So
I'm just
going to stick. If you can find it.
I know. That's the problem.
Anyways, I'm going to stick my nose in here and just smell. You talk.
I'll start talking about Glen Scotia. Yeah. So Glen Scotia, Campbeltown. It is used to be the whiskey capital of the world. There's now only 3 distilleries. There was a long period where there was not a lot going on in Campbeltown. So there's 3 distilleries in Campbeltown. There's Glen Scotia, and then there is Springbank, who distill Springbank. They've got a core range. They also do Hazelburn and Longrow.
So I think Springbank would be the most popular Campbeltown, or the most well-known, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And then there is Glengyle, which produces Kilkerran, which is actually owned by Springbank as well.
Right.
And the reason why they did that is because you need 3 distilleries to actually be considered a region. So they opened up that one and said, no, it's Kilkerran. It's by Campbeltown's a region. So oddly enough, I didn't know that Campbeltown was a whiskey region until 2017, which was when I went to Scotland. My wife and I, we decided we honeymooned in Scotland, which was like our first anniversary, or sorry, not our first anniversary, that was a different trip. We went to Scotland in 2017 as kind of like, just this big kind of trip. And one of the first things we did, because my wife is amazing, was we went to Edinburgh and she got tickets to go to the Whiskey Exchange, which is the largest collection of single malt whiskeys on the planet. And there's this whole museum and you can do these tastings and stuff. So we did that on the very first night we landed. So super tired. And we just go to this whiskey museum. And
an amazing way to start that trip.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
And so in that, they do the whole, like, how do you taste whiskey, blah, blah, blah. They tell you about all the different, regions. If you can ever get there in Edinburgh, it's incredible. It's right by the castle. And so they talked about Campbeltown. And I was like, that's interesting. I've never heard of Campbeltown whiskeys. And then the sample that they gave us to kind of get the notes for Campbeltown whiskey was a Glen Scotia, but it was just their double cask. And I was like, man, this is a really, really nice whiskey. It's really great. So we finish our thing, do tasting. I'm 3 sheets to the wind by the end of it because after our tour, we then went and got a flight. So we then go through the gift shop and they had bottles, obviously, that you could buy. And they had the Glen Scotia double cask for like 30 pounds. So I was like, that's like $60. This whiskey's really good. I'm going to buy this. So bought it, brought it home. LCBO brought it out for like $75-$80. So I was like, sweet. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a regular thing. This is like my new go-to whiskey, this Glen Scotia. Yeah. You now can't get Glen Scotia It's just like impossible to find. But I absolutely fell in love with Campbeltown whiskeys. I was pretty much an Islay guy through and through. My favorite distillery is still an Islay, which we'll talk about another time. But Glen Scotia is like, it is right there for me. So currently I have like a little bit of the double cask. I've got their 15, 16, 18, and this Victoriana.
Yeah. You've got almost the full range.
Almost. They've got a 25, which is a little expensive, a little out of my price range.
There's reasons why maybe the 25 isn't sitting in your cupboard right now, but that's fine.
So Victoriana, we're going to talk about this monster because it is a non-age statement, which a lot of people turn their noses up at in the whiskey community. Which there's a few non-age statement whiskeys out there that you really need to try. The Bunnahabhain Teutschen Da is another one I would say. The Glenmorangie or Morangie, however you want to say it, they've got a number of non-age statements that are beautiful. But this, in my opinion, is the best non-age statement whiskey I've ever tried. It also comes through at a full cask strength, so it packs a punch at 54.2%.
Yeah.
So,
but here's
nice
the thing.
And strong.
You don't get it on the nose at all. At all. Like, so the very first thing, so I stick my nose in here, and it's like butter.
Yes.
It's just butter, like
salted butter, though.
Yeah, like a salty, brown sugary butter. Like just like when you're going to bake and you get like the butter and the brown sugar into the pan and like you're melting it all down, you're combining it all together. That's what I get right away.
Yeah. I get like a saltiness to it that it's like, it's kind of like if you're standing on the ocean, that like sea spray, sea air that they talk about, but it doesn't give me the briny quality that like a Talisker or a Buna or some of the other Islay, Highland Park sometimes gets a little bit of that. Yeah. Sometimes you get a bit of briny sea air saltiness to it. It's like you said, it's like a salted butter, salted caramel sweetness.
Yeah.
That you get on this nose.
It's great. And the saltiness, like I was going to say, the saltiness for me, I find it's like when you take like a deep pull, because that's the interesting thing. Like with most cask strength, like whiskeys, I don't get my nose like all the way into the glass because you get that burn, right? It's burning the hairs right out of the inside of your nose. Yeah. That's not happening with this, which is really interesting, right?
Super interesting.
But when you get like, you stick your nose all the way in your Glencairn glass and take a big pull, that's where I get that the saltiness, and it's like right at the top end of the nose canal there, and you get a bit of that, like, oh, there's the alcohol. Yeah. And that's where I'm getting that saltiness. It's really interesting. Yeah.
And like, it's almost like a creme brulee as well, or like the burnt sugar topping of creme brulee.
There's like a buttery creaminess to it.
It's so good. But the best thing about this whiskey, in my opinion, is the taste, and specifically the finish, which is why we're pairing it with the book that we paired it with, which I will explain as I sip it, because I just really want to have a taste.
Yeah. All right. Hold on. Here we go.
So immediately, you feel the full cask strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you still get it's strong.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that like sugariness. But for me, and this could just be me, I've seen a lot of other people review this. They don't get the same thing that I do. For me, in the finish, there's this soft, creeping smokiness that develops almost from like the back of my tongue up. And it like takes a second to get there. And you might not get it. I get it. It's very, very faint, and you almost get it more the more you drink and the more you kind of go to it. And
I'm getting even more of that butteriness on the nose now that I've got it in the mouth.
So smooth.
Yeah.
Now the reason why we're pairing it with this book for me is like that like slow kind of smokiness. It's kind of ashy, but it's not a peat smoke. It's not a punch in the face smoke, but it's
none
just
of that charcoal.
It's this small lingering ash thing, and it just really reminded me of the movie After the Snap, when people just kind of slowly ash away.
Yeah.
It's like it's there and then it's gone. But it's just super interesting. But the other reason why I knew that we had to pair this with this book is the classic quote from the Mad Titan, perfectly balanced as all things should be. In my opinion, at a full cask strength, you get the best of everything.
Yeah. This is
in this dram. You get salty, sweet, some spice, and then just like a tiny bit of char or ash. It's a complex or something.
Finish. Yeah, like it's
super complex.
It's a long finish. What I was gonna say I get on the finish is like a really, really like a dark chocolate. But like a 80, 90% cocoa chocolate.
Not milk chocolate.
Not milk chocolate
like,
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the super dark stuff that like we've often paired with the more peaty whiskeys. Like having like a dark chocolate with that. So I'm almost getting that like right again, like it's the back of the tongue, like working its way forward. And like underneath that, I do get a little bit of that, like just a hint of the smoke. And it's like it's there and it's gone.
Char, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not, please don't buy this thinking you're getting a smoky whiskey, because you're not.
No.
It's subtle, but it's there. And in my opinion, that's what rounds out the balance of it. Finding this is tough now. We're in Ontario, Canada. It is hard to find.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it's in Ontario anymore, or like right now. When it was under $100,
which is crazy.
When we picked it up, because I've seen it in other parts of Canada for like 130, 125. I would buy another bottle in a heartbeat. And I'll make a deal with people. If you go out and buy this and you think that I oversold it, email us at thewhiskeygeeks@gmail.com. I'll buy it.
Buy it off you.
I'll buy it off you. I love this distillery. I can't say enough good things. Please, Glen Scotia, please bring more stuff to Canada. Yeah. I mean, I've got a fairly well stocked, but I'm afraid to drink some of mine because I know I can't get it. The 16-year-old, the Glen Scotia 16, is a travel exclusive, and currently we can't travel anywhere.
Yeah.
But I found that at a duty free, and that bottle slaps, as the kids say. It is incredible. The 15, the Glen Scotia 15.
The 15, okay.
The 15, in my opinion, beats their 16. Their 15 is just, it's a gem of a bottle. Anyway, nice. I have yet to find a Glen Scotia that I have not fallen in love with.
Oh yeah, you're always selling them, and I mean for good reason. Like it's been a minute since I've had any of this, so I know you've shared some of this with me back in the times when I could come down and visit, and I remember liking it then. But it's been a while, so I don't
still got some. So I'll get you some more.
Yeah. So
whiskey is for sharing, everybody.
That's right. It's not for keeping. Don't collect it.
Don't keep it.
Collect it if you want to collect it. Whatever
you want.
But
do what you want.
Drink your stuff. It's
and
life's
share
too short.
It with friends. This is what we're all about here at the Whiskey Geeks, is taking the pretension and the snobbiness out of whiskey tasting and just telling you. And honestly, I haven't done it because I'm not a water in my whiskey guy. I tend to prefer stuff neat. I think that water would hold up in this. I have not done it. I'm not going to do it tonight just because I enjoy it.
I'm not going to either. I'm enjoying this too much as is. I
enjoy it straight. But I'm sure the full cask strength at 54%, it could hold up some water.
Yeah.
It's not gonna die on you like some other stuff that, it's stuff in like the low 40s. You put a bit of water in that, it sometimes kills it.
Yeah, you lose the depth.
I think this will be fine. If you drink this, and let us know in the comments.
Oh yeah.
If you have had this, do you like it?
Let us know if you do put a couple drops in there. Let us know what happens. I don't have enough to, like, I don't want to like spoil what I have left.
Yeah.
You know, if a bottle showed up. Now,
Hey.
here's the thing. This has been great. I want to get into the book because
From our friends.
yeah,
Some of our friends.
I don't yeah, I don't know how I hadn't read this. Like,
Me neither.
How is it possible that neither of us, like, it just skipped by? Like, we were too young when it first came out. We didn't, like, obviously we weren't going out when we were 10 and 11 and we were like
Right.
buying, comic
Big
books.
events.
It was yeah, like, oh, with the big summer Marvel event, like, we weren't doing that.
Yeah.
And of course, like, with the MCU, and we knew that it was going in this direction for the movies for so long, it took me until we were doing this to actually go back and read the originals.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, for those that have just seen the movies, like, this is a great whiskey to drink while watching, Endgame, and Infinity War, but the book is very different.
Yes.
Very, very different.
Like,
There
like, Thanos' whole reason for doing this is completely different than, like, I just want to bring balance, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean,
It's part of it.
He also does, but I do happen to have
You got it.
the original.
I read it digitally this time. I'm going to pick it up. I know that my local comic shop, shout out to Heroes Comics in London, Ontario. You should all go check them out, Heroes Comics. You can order stuff through them online.
Yep,
And they'll ship it. They ship it to you. So you should go and check out Heroes Comics. I will put a link somewhere, probably in the info, because that's where we'll put everything. But I'm gonna go and buy it because I read it digitally, and it's a book that needs to be in your collection, needs to be in your house, needs to be picked up and read.
Yeah,
anytime you pick up a bottle of Victoriana.
Yeah, it's so cool. The artwork
So good.
is just like classic artwork.
It's George Perez, man. Like, the dude's
exactly.
a fucking legend.
Mount Rushmore.
Absolute
Mount Rushmore
legend.
comic book artist. Yeah.
Legend.
So now, all that being said, I do think I liked the streamlined approach to Thanos in the movies.
Yes.
And I think had they tried to do this story in the movies, they'd have got bogged down. Right? Like,
yes.
They would have had to yada yada a whole bunch of stuff.
Or have like 38 more movies to explain who the Celestials were.
Yeah.
And like, because, like, I mean, a main character in the book is Adam Warlock, whom does not exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Not as of yet.
No, not as of yet. So you'd have to explain Adam Warlock,
who he is, why he's tied to the, why he's tied already to the Soul Stone,
which is a great. I went back and read that tie-in as well.
Oh, okay.
It's great. It's great. I won't spoil it here. It's for another time. But
and then he's doing all of this for the love of Mistress Death.
Mistress Death.
And which is, like, really interesting that, like, Thanos, like, the ultimate evil, this, like, very, like, strong vision, always going towards this singular vision. He's doing this for the love of Mistress Death, and not just about bringing balance, but he wants to do something to gain her love. And now that he has the Infinity Gauntlet, she has realized that he is, like, not just her equal, but has now, like, surpassed her, and she's sort of now turned her back on him. Which brings about this really interesting dynamic, because, like, Thanos is almost like a spurned lover.
Yeah, it's
for
interesting.
Like, part of the story, and you're like, I was not expecting that, which is really nice when, like, you come into a book like this, you think you know the story, you know what's going to happen, like, all the hits, like, all right, the Avengers are going to be heavily involved, and they're going to bring in all the other big heroes, and there'll be this big fight, and then you're like, oh, like, Thanos is kind of whiny at the moment.
Yeah.
Hey, Podcat, She made an appearance.
She just made an appearance.
Yeah.
Just hoping that you weren't going to hear that. Yep. Lovely podcat, as always, in the background, lurking around. But yeah, I mean, like, you get so many, and I think it's just because of the medium of the comic instead of the movie, you can cram so much more in.
Oh yeah.
So you just get so many more heroes and villains. I mean, Mephisto is like a huge part of this book, who's basically Marvel's Satan.
Yeah.
Is like their version of the devil. Like, he is a massive, massive part in this book as well. And like the Silver Surfer is a massive part of,
who growing up, he was always
well.
he was always one of my favorites. I know we've talked about this, but we had like the full set of those Marvel cards, like the comic cards. And Silver Surfer was always like, we would go through, we'd spend hours like going through like, okay, like pick your favorite, like who's the strongest. And like, so I do remember that's how I know of Adam Warlock, because like we had that. But Silver Surfer was I always thought he was just like, you know, he's ratty surfing, like it's cool, and he's super strong.
Cool.
And,
it's a super cool character who, I mean, was in that one Fantastic Four movie, but I think we're going to get him again.
Hopefully we get him again.
Yeah. But yeah, there's so many more kind of characters in this book than they did in the movie. But at the same time, like, the one kind of knock that you can make on the book is, unless you're really invested and kind of know your whole Marvel history, it's a little convoluted in a sense of
so
hard to follow maybe for some people. I can see that.
I would say that this was like similarly, like this was an undertaking to read this, and I would say in the same way that doing the Dark Phoenix arc, like another classic arc, it also had a bit of a like, really, like this is the way this story is sort of unfolding. Like that had a lot of moving pieces, a lot of characters, and I found that was also a little bit hard to digest. Whereas, you know, like when you watch that growing up in the cartoon version, like the Dark Phoenix was like, it was like, okay, she goes back, Wolverine, and it was fine. Obviously the medium, you know, like books and comics always are able to add more depth and details than like a film can. Like, it's, you know, people are always saying, well, the book was better. Like, yeah, no kidding. They had 1,200 pages on which to give you details. Mm-hmm. So now, that being said, the story's fantastic. He, like you said, he takes on the Celestials. He takes on all the heroes,
cosmic entities, has like which is like Eternity and Galactus and Lord Chaos and Master Order, and like the Watcher, I think, is in it as well.
So the Watcher's there and like has to refrain from like interfering, but then at one point says, "I fear that by not taking part, my job to observe the universe will be moot because the universe will be no more." Like, they're going to destroy, not only will like half the life be destroyed because of like this search for balance, but Thanos with the gauntlet fighting the Celestials is just going to break the universe completely.
Yeah. Which is like super crazy to think, like all the, like that part blew me away when I was reading it. And then all of a sudden all the Celestials and the cosmic entities just showed up. Like that, like the art on that is gorgeous as well. Like when that showed up, it was just like, holy shit. Like this, it's epic beyond words.
Well,
so
he's like, the artwork, he's in space on this like created throne, like
floating like this throne of skulls.
Yeah. And then in the space and the stars in the background are all the Celestials like just like appear, and he's like standing there with the gauntlet looking up at all. Like, it was incredible. So yeah, I mean,
it's amazing.
Great
Go buy
artwork.
it.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
call Heroes Comics in London. Have them ship you a copy.
Grab a digital copy. Grab a digital copy. Read this book. If you haven't read this book, you need to read this book.
Yes.
It's so good.
Check your local library, because hot take, there's a lot of public libraries right now who, for free, you can go and read digital comics. It may be where I read this.
It's where I read the back half of this.
There you go. There you go. So go and check it out. It's an amazing book. I mean, Jim Starlin is a genius for writing it. You know, George Perez, all I can say is it's incredible. Ron Lim took over the art halfway through. He did an amazing job as well.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wow, sorry about that. That was Podcat fucking around and jumping on stuff.
At least it wasn't the bottle of Glen Scotia, right?
No, that's
Oh, thank goodness.
That's safely nestled in my arms.
Yeah,
safely nestled. Going.
I've got a couple.
That,
I had a couple notes that I want to give to Thanos.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. So when you're surrounding yourself with the people that are going to advise you on how to like go about taking over the universe, maybe don't have Mephisto.
Yeah, having a legitimate devil.
Yeah, like I found it really weird. Like, and he's like whispering into his ear, like, "Oh, well, if you really want to impress Lady Death, like, I mean, it's not just enough to beat the heroes. Like, maybe you should like dial it back a little bit and don't use all the powers."
Yeah.
And then, like, lo and behold, spoiler alert, he tries to take the gauntlet and kill him.
Yeah.
Like, because he's the devil.
What?
Yeah, like, imagine that.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, like, I sort of chuckled when I was like, really? Like, this is the guy who's got whispering in his ear?
Yeah. There's some really great, I don't know why I just thought of this too. I was just thinking of like the ending and everything like that is what actually finish your point. And then I'll sorry.
No. And just with the writing and how great it was when Wolverine shows up, I think it was Captain America who like turns around and goes, "I thought you were dead." and he's just like blank face, like, "No, I'm here." And they're like, "Yeah, no, like Wolverine's just back now."
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine.
It was comic book dead. It's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say some other positives about it. It's like some of the imagery as well that they actually used in the movie.
Yeah.
Like the Thanos armor as a scarecrow.
Yes.
At the end when he's farming and stuff like that. Really, really great job by the, I kind of wish I had read this before seeing the movie so I could pull that stuff. But at the same time, I may have been a little bit like, oh, why aren't the Celestials in this? Because that scene was so badass. But at the same time, I think I
had the inverse reaction where when I was reading the book and I saw that, I was like, oh, they're going to see him as a farmer. And that whole scene between him and Adam Warlock at the end it added like another level of depth to the character of Thanos.
Yes.
That I loved. I loved.
It's great. So go read it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. If you can find it, go and buy a bottle of Glen Scotia. Glen Scotia Victoriana, cask strength.
And buy two.
Buy two.
And then email us.
I like that. I like that as well.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
So yeah, I came up with a list for our kind of like our fun spin-off section here. So what I wanted to do was talk about some of the other most powerful like artifacts or weapons that exist throughout fiction, comics, movies, and that stuff. Because I think we can all agree the Infinity Gauntlet is the be-all end-all, right?
It's up there.
I mean, it has everything you could possibly want.
Yeah.
All the Infinity Stones. So, like, everything I've got on my list, some of them can do one or maybe two of these things.
Right.
But the Infinity Gauntlet just gives you literally all the options. Like, anything you could possibly want to do is on the table with this. You want to, like, go back in time and stop something. You want to loop it. You want to change reality. You want to whatever. So, knowing that, I've got a list.
How many are on your list?
I just kind of kept going. So I want to say that there's maybe 10. They're in no particular order.
Okay.
So I grabbed some things that are I want you to.
I'm gonna give you 3.
Yeah, go for it.
Give 3 just off the top of my dome. I didn't know you were doing this.
Yeah, we didn't discuss it.
Ring of Power from Lord of the Rings.
Yes. On the list. Yes.
I'm gonna go Elder Wand from Harry Potter.
I have the Deathly Hallows as a
set.
The 3 of them together as a set. So yes.
I was going to say
because the Philosopher's Stone
and the Invisibility Cloak.
Yeah. So I've got those as a set. Although the Philosopher's Stone exists by itself, like outside of Harry Potter, in a lot of other like fantasy fiction stuff. So I sort of had the Philosopher's Stone, like the Elixir of Life part on its own. and then like slash the Deathly Hallows for Harry Potter for getting it into the more like geekdom realm.
I like it. This is really tough just off the dome. Okay, I'm gonna say this will be the last one I'll guess. I'm gonna say the White Lantern's ring, because it has all of the other colors in it.
Okay,
it has the power of all of the other colors.
I picked the blue power ring, mainly because I really like the ability to create wormholes. That's just sort of a thing I like. So I went with the blue power ring, but I will accept, I think I would accept any of the power rings are like pretty badass. So yeah, the white one, it's got them all.
I mean, the fear ones are pretty cool. I think we're going to get into it, but I think it was it was after the new 52. Anyway, the Green Lantern arc, there was Green Lantern arcs where they brought in Ganthet and like Kyle Rayner, and then like the blues and the yellows and the oranges. Yeah. There's like this whole run that DC put out within the last couple of years. Rebirth. It was started at Rebirth. Oh, that's what it was. Not New 52. Sorry, DC Rebirth. That run on Green Lantern with all those power rings got me so hyped about Green Lantern again. I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll do one of those.
So anyway, sorry, I want to hear some of your
other ones. So some of these I didn't know off the top of my head, so like did a bit of research. But something that comes up in Fantastic Four is the Ultimate Nullifier. So that's something that so it can destroy entire universes. Kind of a big deal. Yeah. It's quite often associated with Galactus, which, obviously big epic being, features prominently in Infinity Gauntlet comics. And it also it can like wipe out. So the way it destroys the universe is it wipes out the dimension by deleting their timeline. So it's not like a energy thing where it goes boom. It's more of a like Doctor Strange style, like, no, this timeline doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So I had that one.
I don't really, you know what? That's one branch of comics, like the Fantastic Four. I know we've kind of talked about it. Like, I really need to do more of a deep dive on the Fantastic Four, because
Reed Richards is like
the man,
the dude, right? So when you get into the Illuminati, like some of that stuff, like he's in there as like one of the main guys. Yeah. So yeah, just brilliant. But again, I'm the same way. Like and the first like round of movies didn't really help their brand very much. No. So
we're going to be digging into Fantastic Four comics. Yeah. Hey, here's the thing. Leave comments, send us an email, let us know which Fantastic Four books we need to read, because I would love to learn more about them.
Yeah. So we said the Blue Lantern ring, I already had that. Something from DC, the Miracle Machine, which is, so like basically it can turn thoughts into reality. So a lot like the Reality Stone, or for those like D&D, I'm wearing a Critical Role shirt, but like the Wish spell, basically just thoughts into reality. The One Ring, obviously, control all the other rings. We talked about the Deathly Hallows. Something that, again, I haven't done a lot of reading on about the Kree, but the Negabands. So, super strength, a manipulation of energy, interstellar flight, and the wearer doesn't need food, drink, or sleep. So can kind of be used to do a whole bunch of awesome things.
Just keep grinding.
Yeah. And then the Heart of the Universe, which is actually used to create universes. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of the opposite of the Ultimate Nullifier. So you can, go back and forth, which is the great thing in comics, where you can loop things like, oh, Galactus used this, and but they had the Heart of the Universe, and they could create another one. And then the last one, that just because it's so iconic, is Mjolnir. Because
I almost put it in there.
Yeah,
I was going to say it.
I got into, it's like in doing a bit of research for this, I sort of did a bit more of like a deep dive on the history of Mjolnir, as opposed to like, Thor wields it, or, someone else who's worthy, and then they get the powers of Thor. Some of the things I didn't know that it could do, it can grant invisibility.
Oh.
Didn't know that. So like it can absorb and redirect energy.
Yeah.
So like we've seen Thor, like take lightning into it and then channel it off. But in theory, a star could go supernova and he could channel that in. Pretty cool. Pretty amazing. All of his godly powers are also associated with the hammer. So like when we get Lady Thor and that amazing comic arc, he like whoever is deemed worthy who holds the hammer will also have the powers of Thor. Like that's also something that's I think is really unique, where it's not just a weapon, but it will actually grant you the powers of a god and allow you to channel godly energy. So that's why I put it on there.
That's fair.
Also, I didn't realize Thor couldn't miss. That's one of the things. It says like Thor, when Thor wields it, he never misses, and it will always come back to him. So I knew the coming back thing, but I was like, oh, like he can't miss with this thing? Like, well, that's pretty awesome. So little OP.
D&D parlance, that's crazy OP. Just an automatic crit every time.
Just every time.
I thought of one more that I'm going to throw in there for my sci-fi nerds. What about the Q Collective? Does that count?
So
I was going to say Borg Cube.
Yeah, I was thinking about trying to get something. So like Starkiller Base was another thing. Like I was like Death Star.
It's just a big Death Star.
Yeah, but like it can.
I mean, if the movie taught us anything, 12 X-wings will take it out.
all you really need is one to fly. Anyways, but yeah, like the Borg Cube, technically is like a single entity, right? So like I think that like I feel like that would count. The power of the Q, like so I try to stay away from like individual superheroes.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
or objects.
I was trying to think of something from Star Trek, and I remembered the one Vulcan artifact that takes the fears of someone and like uses that energy to then kill them. So if you're like feeling aggression and you're in a fight, like this artifact will like be able to defeat you all the time. And it was like you could only defeat it by peace.
I don't remember that, you nerd.
I don't remember the name of this episode, but it was one of those things where like Picard noticed the Vulcan symbol for peace on the underside of the God of War, and that's how he realized that you can defeat this with peace. And I was like, oh,
dope.
Okay,
that's actually pretty sweet. Cool.
Yeah. Honorable mentions: Cap's shield.
Well, yeah.
It's like things like that.
Vibranium as a whole.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stuff, I think. Lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
The Force.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I actually learned some stuff there, so thank you.
Hey.
And speaking of powerful objects, I'm going to keep going back to it.
I've only got like a very little bit left.
You'll get more in the mail from me.
And I will say, the more I've had, I keep getting a little bit more every time I have a bit. The nose is evolving as well. Like as more of the whiskey sort of sits on my tongue, and sort of because like it's a cask strength, right? So there is a nice long finish. It is going to sit on your tongue and cheeks a little bit. You swirl it around, you're going to get that staying power. But because of that, it opens up the nose even more, which is really nice.
I only poured like a halfie, but like even just going back and just nosing the glass, I'm just getting all the sugary, buttery, salty goodness.
Oh yeah.
It's still in there. It's still that like
it smells
caramelly stuff. It's amazing.
So my wife quite often will like put like a scented candle on of, it smells like baked apple pie or, and she likes to trick me, like I'll come back in from wherever I was and I'm like,
yes,
did you bake cookies? And she's like, it's just the candle. That's kind of what I'm getting with this, right? Like if I came home and this is what I smelled, I would assume that someone had baked some buttery, sugary goodness.
Yeah. But it's fantastic.
That's great.
So that's going to be it for us this week, folks. Thank you so much. Yeah. Again, Glen Scotia, Victoriana, most of the Avengers right here.
It's not going to be it for us because we have not given it
Oh my gosh, we haven't given the ratings yet.
Yeah.
I got
so you were so excited.
Full disclosure, I was going to pour another one when we got off camera.
Yeah.
I was so excited. We need to rate this. The Canadian Whiskey Geeks, the CWG grading. How we do this, we give it a rating out of 10. We rate the whiskey. We rate the comic. We rate the pairing. This is going to be high numbers, folks.
I think this might be...
Be honest with you. I'll go first on the whiskey.
Yep.
And people are probably going to crap on me for this one. This one comes in at a 9.5. I love this whiskey. And here's the thing. It's a non-age statement, and I'm giving it a 9.5. And I don't even care. It's that good.
Yeah.
I did myself. I did a tasting of... I did an all Glen Scotia night one time. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to pour them all. So I did the double cask, the 15, the 16, the 18, and the non-age statement Victoriana. And the non-age statement Victoriana was my favorite.
Wow.
The 18 is very, very close. The Glen Scotia 18 is good. I think the reason why I give the edge to this one is price-wise.
Yeah.
The 18-year-old Glen Scotia is not cheap.
Like most 18-year-olds, it's
like
got
most
to be up
18-year-olds.
around 200. Yeah.
And this, when we got it, was under $100. Even at 125, where it's sitting at some places. So for me, it is a 9.5.
Wow.
Don't at me.
Yeah. I've got it. I mean, I'm just below you. So I've got this at a 9. It's exceedingly drinkable. It's for a full cask strength. It's unbelievably smooth for coming at full cask strength. Normally for cask strengths, like, I mean, again, I don't tend to put water in a lot. That's not me being snooty. It's just, those are the flavors I like, big, strong, bold flavors. But even that, like, this just doesn't need it. For my palate, I'm not getting that burn. It's really, really approachable. It's very good. It's very well balanced with, it's not like some of the other, like some of the Highlands where you get a lot of the sweetness, like a lot of the caramels, they can be a little bit like one-faceted.
Right.
There is some depth here. There is a good balance across, like some of the, like caramel apple, like there is a bit of an oakiness, like on the finish as well. And like I said earlier, like the dark chocolate that like creeps up and like, it's just hinting at smoke. And because of that, it's such a well-balanced dram. That's, I've got it at a 9.
Nice.
I'll go for the book. I've got this book at a 9.5. The scope and epicness of it, the artwork, the writing, how they were able to bring all these like converging storylines together, and the way they pulled it off, not having it be overly complicated, and it reads a lot quicker than I would have thought for something of this scope, like something of this magnitude and the amount of characters that were in it. I loved it. Visually, it was incredible. It had all my favorite, like it's got all your favorite characters, it's got all your favorite bad guys. It's great. So yeah, I've got a 9.5.
I give it the same. 9.5. The only reason it doesn't come in at a 10 for me is there is just a tiny little bit too much going on. Like,
yeah.
Of just like wait, who is this? Like, where are they from? What? And that's part of that falls on me as the reader. These kind of big, massive events. If I had been reading this when it came out and I was like in comics and I had been reading all the companion pieces and I was up on it, I would have understood it a lot more. But coming into it dry, that's the only reason. And again, I'm knocking it from a perfect 10 to a 9.5. But that's literally the only ththing that's wrong with it. Again, exceptionally readable. The art is fantastic. The storytelling's amazing. It is what birthed the Marvel Cinematic. Like, it is what caused the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be what it is,
Yeah.
I mean, go buy it. Just buy it.
Yeah. It is one of those seminal pieces of comic book art and writing that if you've got a collection, this is, well, like the trades are out there, you can grab, grab the individual ones. But yeah, this is something that you want to have in your collection. Even if like just to flip through and like, oh, like look at how they have Adam Warlock here. Look how they've got like Hulk, or like see how, like, I mean, like spoiler, we know like a bunch of the people die, but like look how Iron Man dies in this book. Mm-hmm. Like look how Thor gets taken out. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. And finally, the pairing together. I think this is the first one that I've given out.
This gets a perfect 10. Yeah, it gets a 10.
10. You like the whiskey is perfectly balanced. Thanos is perfectly balanced. Everything about this pairing and putting these two together is perfect.
Yeah, like right down even the name, like Victoriana. It's just like, it's screaming victory, it's screaming power. It's like,
it's strong. The cask strength is strong, but it's also soft and smooth, which is a side of Thanos you see in this book.
Yeah,
he kicks a lot of ass and kills everybody. He's doing it for love.
Yeah. And then the reflection, like Adam Warlock uses the time stone at the end, and like you go forward a little bit and you see Farmer Thanos, and that reflection piece, I think that's what really did it for me. Which you get
rounds it out completely.
It's the depth of character and the perspective he has like years later. It was just amazing. So this gets a 10 for me as well. And yeah, that's the first. I think it's the first 10 we've given on the pairings.
It's the first 10 we've given out for sure. Yeah. And it's well deserved. Well, hey, thank you, geeks, for joining us on another really, really fun episode. This one was great. I've been looking forward to this one for months.
Well, we've had this down. This pairing has been down. This is one of the first ones that were like, oh, well, we have to do this. And then you're like, and it has to go with this whiskey. Yeah.
Make sure you go to thewhiskeygeeks.com. There is an E in whiskey, because we like to cover not just Scottish and Canadian whiskey, we cover all whiskeys. So we want to put that in there. So thewhiskeygeeks.com, you can read the companion piece that goes with this episode. If it's not up yet, it will be up soon. So keep checking back. Follow us on all the socials. We're at the Whiskey Geeks on Instagram, so you can follow us there. Write in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe on the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. All the podcasts are there. If you're watching this just on the YouTube and you want to listen to it in your car, you can go and find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all of those fun things. So make sure you're following along. Send us an email at thewhiskeygeeks.com. Get in touch. We want to hear what you're reading, what you're drinking, what you think. Got
ideas for pairings, let us know.
Absolutely. The whole reason we do this is to take the snobbery out of whiskey tasting and get more people reading comics as well. So tell us your suggestions, tag us in your posts on what you're drinking and reading as well. That's what we love to hear from you guys. So this has been a fun one, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. This was great. And cheers.
Cheers. And as always, need to thank Colin Response for the use of his song, Something About Your Love, from his self-titled album. You can go and check him out on all of the Spotifys and where you get music. It's a self-titled album. Go get it. It's very good. And let's pour more drams and read more books together.
Let's read more books. All right. Cheers. Yay. Remember, Scotch and stories, they were made for each other.